Okay, here we go. Welcome to Hiker's Dream. This is Landslide and your co-host Mimi. And today we're fortunate enough to have Jim Hagen, legend, on the podcast today with his stories and his attempt for the PCT and the whole trip this year. Are you going to do the whole thing this year? And this is your second time or first time or?
This will be my second through hike.
Second. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And you did in 2014 or
2013.
13.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Maybe a little bit of your background first for the folks listening and seeing where you come from and where you're going to go.
First off, my name is Legend, trail name Legend. In 2010, I decided to change my life and I started hiking. I had a bad injury, so I started walking real slow. By 2013, I completed the Pacific Crest Trail against all odds and got the trail name Legend. My mom was along with me, supporting me. Her name was Mama Legend. We drove something called the Legend Mobile. When I got done, I didn't want to go back to the real world, so I started living on the PCT 6 months, being what I came up with a way to be a traveling trail angel. So I went to all the iconic trail angels that were out there in 13, 14, and 15, from Mike Carrera's place to Baron Ziggy's to one of my favorite people in the world, Donna Softly, who has passed away, and there's going to be a memorial for her in April, all the way up to the Dinsmores in Washington and Raven Songs. So I developed a lifestyle of traveling full time. In the wintertime, I go to Mexico with a truck and I live on the beach like a surfer. So I sleep outside about 300 nights a year for the last 14 years. Fast forwarding to a couple years ago, I started helping hikers at the border at Camp Lockett and at Cleef, it's sort of in the style that the kickoff had done back in 2013 and 14. I really enjoyed it. I was there for 90 days, meeting every hiker that was going to start, offering advice, whatever I could do to offer encouragement to them. And then in 2022, I met my wife at the border. She was come from Germany, had a great story. And eventually I caught up to her by Kennedy Meadows. We hiked and traveled together for a year and got married. So I'm now currently married, and we are going to hike this year. For the first time in my life, I'm going to hike with a partner. I've lived a solo life. That's what I am. I'm a bachelor. I'm 62 years old. So for the first time, I'm going to hike with a partner. And as we were talking earlier, Landslide, you've hiked with your son. So you know that there's a difference between alone and with somebody. Yeah. And so we're looking forward to it. That was it. In those 10 years, I decided I would come up with the problem of trying to solve, how do you overcome your fears for the first 100 miles? I was seeing all the international travelers, the notes, and all the questions about how do you get to the border? Where do you camp the first night? So because I'm from San Diego and I've done trail maintenance, I'm really probably as good as there is for the first 100 miles on knowing the logistics, the roads, how to rescue people. So by giving my phone number to people at the beginning with an agreement that if they called me in the first 100 miles, I could come help them. We got to help a lot of people that were not in 911 emergency, but just maybe they had a blister. Maybe they needed to get back to the airport because somebody in their family had died, whatever it was. So that was my whole goal, was to solve problems in the first 100 miles, to set the standard for through hikers so that they could have a good start, a confident start, a great start, and know that the world cared about them, particularly the community that does videos like this. So I'm not a gear expert. That's not my expertise. I'm more of a mental aspect about what do you have to do to become a through hiker. So people ask me if I'm a section hiker. I'm really not. I'm not a day hiker. I have the idea of living on the trail and becoming a through hiker to eventually change your life. And that's what I talk about over and over again in my talks and my places when I meet people in communities, that through hiking will change your life. And the only way you're going to know that it's going to do it is when you actually do it. So that's kind of what I'd like to talk about today.
Okay, let me do two things, and I'll give it to Mimi here, but two things that similar, our lifestyles are similar. When I finished too, it changed my whole life. So what am I paying rent for? I could live outside for free, and so I became homeless for, a year or so, because why am I paying rent when, I've been living on the trail for 5 months? I just live in the bushes and be fine. Save some money. And the second thing is I remember the first 100 miles is like, oh, my son and I said, we're really doing this, aren't we? I mean, that's when we became aware of, like, yeah, we're really on the trail and we're going to do the whole thing. So, okay, give it to Mimi now. Wonderful. Jim, thanks, Jim.
Well, Jim or Legend, I have heard of you because of your work at Cleef. And I am also a trail angel, and I'm going to be. I've decided that I don't think I can do a through hike. I just don't. I'm overweight, and I'm just a slow hiker, and I can't be hiking for 9 months. So I have been hiking. I started in Campo in October, and every month I go out for a long weekend, and I've made it to Mount Laguna. And I really think that hiking the first 100 miles and section hiking has just given me a lot of confidence about the rest of the hike. So I have a start date, I think of May 9th. And I'm going to, wherever I left off, I'd like to try to do maybe the first 100 miles. And then I'd like to try to make it to Big Bear in a month. And then I just don't think I can devote 5 months. Like I have a service dog, and I also want to go live on the beach. And I'm wondering, is it something that a woman you think could do by myself? Like, is it safe down in Mexico to do that?
There are gated communities here that would be okay, you know,
Yeah.
security.
And that's a great question. Mimi, the first thing is your camera is not showing your mouth. If you could turn it down a little bit there we go. That's perfect because I love your smile.
Thank you.
So there we go. And you asked a fair question. And sitting with you today is my wife, Bianca. And we traveled last year. She's from Germany. And we decided to go Mexico. So we were in Mexico for 6 months last year, traveling and sleeping on the beaches. It's not something for everybody on the first day, but you can go to towns like Mazatlan and give me one of them. Cancun, Palito, Salalito, all these little towns, and they've got hiker or beach guy surfer camps. And they might have a $5 fee or something, but if you're in an area that is you pay for, you're going to be safe, whether it be $5 or $105. So we chose not to pay any rent, and we never felt unsafe. But I've done it a lot. So I've gone to Nicaragua. So as far as yes, it's doable. When you drive a single person, it's harder because you have to keep an eye on your car. If you've got two people, or you find a friend that'll go with you. So I tended to partner up with people. I would partner up with you and say, hey, do you want to hang out for 2 weeks? And we'll go to, Cabo, hang out and watch each other's car, watch each other's stuff, watch each other's back. And then you might go a different way and I might go a different way. And that's what we find on that's what we find on the Pacific Crest Trail when we have this through community. And just the same fear that you have of going to Mexico was the same fear that I had. The same fear that you have of hiking the trail is the same fear we all have. Will I meet anybody? Is it safe? And that's always the first question that people ask. And by simply building your confidence in doing the Pacific Crest Trail and, going out to the beach and maybe going to a campground in San Diego and just putting up your tent for a couple of nights, you can learn these things. And by overcoming your fears in a small way, very small way, then you'll be able to get to it. I've got 15 straight years of living outside and my fears were identical. Can I do it? Is it safe? I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm scared.
I'm not afraid at all. I'm not afraid of anything.
You can do it.
Sometimes that's stupid, but I cowboy camp all the time. I rarely sleep inside a tent. I have a pop-up trailer, so I'm looking for a truck to pull it. So I'm learning to speak Spanish, so I'm ready to have an adventure, and I'm retired. So
you're there. And if you find somebody else with a vehicle and you can caravan together while driving, it's a great way to spend the winter. And you can really do it on a low budget.
Great.
That's probably one of the things that we talk about when we travel. I used to have a higher budget. I had a pretty good job, but I found out that it wasn't sustainable staying at hotels every night and going out for fancy dinners every night. It's more sustainable having your own place to sleep. You're not worried about where you're going to sleep at night. Having your own stove, cook what you like. Don't worry about what the cook is making. And so what we now talk a lot about on life in general, my next book is going to be called Live Simple, Live Free. It's actually been written. Live Simple, Live Free. And it talks about...
Do you self-publish?
I do.
Do you self-publish your books?
Yeah. So this is one of them. And I also self-promote them, but I'm not a very good salesman on books yet, but I'm working on it. So, they're available to people that call me and say, hey, can you send me a copy? They're very simple books. They're not thick ones.
That's okay. I sometimes that's better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So one question I have for you that is related is you said your mom supported you along the trail, and I'm thinking of asking a friend to do that for me. Does it, like, logistically, how hard is that to make happen?
You asked the perfect person. In 2015, I supported one person with his motorhome, meeting him almost every day. But it was because I knew the trail at the beginning and my confidence was up. So I could go in and out, and I had some larger maps, and we'd make an agreement where we'd meet. And he was older and couldn't carry weight, so he was supported by me. When I hiked, I'd broken my back. So I had no chance of carrying 30 pounds. I could barely walk. So I walked about a mile an hour. And that's why people are watching my videos, because I walk so slow. But at the end of the day, nobody ever asked me how much weight I carried. They said, did you really walk from Mexico to Canada every step? I said, every single step of the way. My mom would meet me as often as she could. And some days I would slack back, and I didn't care. You know, some people go ultra light. And so, yes, it's very doable to get a support person or be the support person. And there's a community of support people, just like there is hikers. And this is going to lead to one of the questions that Landslide had. But the people that are supporting are all sort of driving along. So they talk about, where can we stop? And the trailheads are great places to camp and wait for somebody, the road crossings. But what's going to happen is you're going to make a lot of friends, because you're going to have water, maybe Gatorade. So when my mom was doing it, she would make peanut butter sandwiches for everybody that crossed by. And she was known as Mama Legend. And she'd push a button on the trunk and it would open, and there'd be peanut butter sandwiches and Gatorade. Being on a budget, that's what we could afford. We couldn't afford to make hamburgers and hot dogs. But my mom would also give rides when I wasn't there and other stuff. So that's how I learned. I learned trail engineering from her, along with the Dinsmores and other people.
Did you know Coppertone?
Wonderful.
You must have.
I knew Coppertone.
Okay.
Coppertone and I ran this almost the same identical schedule. He would go forward every week. I would go forward every 2 weeks. And he started a little bit after me here in the bubble. I started a little bit early. So by the time we would get to Oregon, and he was such a great guy. He's still a great guy. He's having problems. I am friends with him on Facebook. And if you ask me later, I can give you his real name.
Whatever happened to him?
Jago, if you knew him. And so Coppertone was a great guy. He hasn't been doing it the last couple of years. He switched out his big rig for a small home-built trailer that he built and documented during COVID. And it's a super lightweight one, and he pulls it with a car. I think he's spending time in Arizona, Florida, and working on his health. But double check that.
Okay.
But here's what I wanted to talk about. Earlier today, you sent me a note that said, I'm going to be in Campo and I need a ride to Julian April 1st. This is what I specialize in. You need a ride. So the question is, what time do you need a ride? And these are the things that I would ask. You have a problem that I can solve. How we solve it is going to be economical and beneficial to everybody. And I would say, refresh the question for our listeners today. What was that text you sent me about from Campo to Julian, right?
Yeah, my friend and I are doing a tour, speaking tour on intuition, and we're starting in Julian. So we're coming up from Baja to bus, and then Doreen is taking us from the border to Tecate to Campo, and then I need a ride from Campo to Julian, and then setting up rides along the way over to Wrightwood, which is the end of the tour. So I'm looking for right now, I'm just trying the logistics of it, trying to get rides for free. I'll pay for gas or food, but from Campo to Julian, that was the question. Yeah.
And that's a question that comes up every year. And my answer would be, there's a great Facebook page called the Southern California Trail Angels Terminus Group. And there's also one for Julian. And on there, there's 3 or 4 people that really specialize in longer rides and coordinated rides. Right off the top of my head, there's Desert Lady, Ghost, Ray Angel, myself. These are all ones that we can share. But as you get closer to April 1st, if you get there, somebody will help you. I guarantee it. Campo is, Cleef and Campo is made to help. Even me and my wife are going to have a car near us. We need it driven up to Julian someday. If we're near you, we're going to give you the car and say, put it there in 5 days. I think we're going to be ahead of you because we have a March 4th start. But bad weather, anything else, and this will happen organically, or whatever that fancy word they use is. If you go there and you start asking anywhere, any one of 20 people can do it. And there are people specifically, if everything else fails, that have a set price to give you that ride. But I recommend the Trail Angels getting there, putting out the word just 2 or 3 days beforehand, because we're all dependent on weather. You know, somebody needs something from Julian from 2 Foot Adventures. They're going to be driving up there that day. And that's a great resource to get to Julian. It's a company called 2 Foot Adventures. They coordinate rides in and around Julian, and they deliver gear to Mount Laguna and to the border. So these are things that we would solve, and that's what I do best, is solve small problems. So my suggestion is, if you need a ride from the border on April 1st, start putting it out there, make a few phone calls, put up a backup plan so that if you had to pay for it, you could, and then try to get it for free or for good stories.
Thank you.
I just want to mention
Go ahead.
that I started a website for trail angeling and PCT support, and I have blog posts on there like the safe way to hitchhike, somebody wrote, and just don't be a douchebag on the trail, like men who are inappropriate with women hikers. And I'm really trying to get a centralized place, like where if someone needs help, they just get on that website and send a message. And then I have people that cover, you know, I know all the Trail Angel Facebook pages, and I've been coordinating rides in from the airport, and then, you know, they can spend the night here if they need it, and then I take them to REI or whatever. I have fuel that I give them for free, water bottles for free. And then I also pick up people southbound. I was picking up people, but it just right now it's all over the place. You know, there's phone numbers, there's different Facebook pages. I just feel like it's not very coordinated. And mine is going to be, it's a 501c3. So I'm not trying to make money. Like, I think some people say they're trail angels, but they kind of are in business. And, you know, I don't think that's the spirit of what trail angels are supposed to be. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. I believe you.
Let me
just
cut you off. I'm sorry, but we probably have maybe 10 minutes. Because again, this is a free account I have, but let me say that I'd like to interview again like 3 or 4 days before March 4th, before you start, because we have a lot to talk about. And then maybe you can get into like what you're going with Bianca this time, right? Your wife. So has she ever hiked before? I mean, what's her experience?
She arrived at the border wanting to change her life, leaving Germany, giving everything away to a nonprofit group or whatever, and showed up with a backpack at the border in a dream. And she showed up, and I've seen that before, and I specialize in people that have dreams. If you want to spend much money to hike the trail, you're probably not going to meet me. So she had a dream of hiking, but she didn't have anything. And so I slowly had some other friends, gave her a camp stove. She had a tent from like a Walmart Europe, but she made it 1,300 miles before her 90-day visa expired. And we were up at Sierra City, and she decided she liked it so much that instead of flying back to Germany, she would stay in the United States. We'd go down to Mexico, organize the paperwork, and do that. So she has experience, and she really has experience on doing it on a low budget. Traveling full time for so long, we live on a budget that is very limited. So,
are you guys going to share a tent? Are you going to share a tent or separate tents?
We got a tent to share, and you know, as long as we can.
Good luck.
I've watched couples do it. We've been sleeping in the same tent and traveling together 24 hours a day for almost a long time. So we spend our time together. So it's not like 2 people that are retired. One had a job, they come together, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, this is not good. We met living this lifestyle. So our goal this year is to hike and learn everything I can and share it as I go. So I like social media. So we're going to do Facebook pages, podcasts, stuff like this every day, so that we can teach people that even as a couple, you can still do it on a budget if it's your dream. If your dream is to hike from Mexico to Canada, nobody should deny you. And that's why I love the title of this podcast, Hiker's Dream. whatever my dream is, and her dream is to walk from Mexico to Canada, call herself a thru hiker, we're not going to quit. We're not even going to accept that idea of don't quit on a bad day. We're just not going to quit. We've allowed enough time. We might not have enough money, but we can always figure that out. But we got enough time. We got the determination. So our real goal this year is to not skip anything. If there's too much snow this year, we're going to wait. We're going to go through hiking south to north, the way the old people did it, and it's going to change our lives again for the better. So I'm really looking forward to it. And that's what my goal for this year is to hike with my wife and share the dream with as many people so that we can inspire other couples, people that might not have hiked the whole distance before, to go back and do it, because there is no reason to not hike. There's no reason to not enjoy life. And
That's true.
if our hike can influence people, even one couple to go out there, even one person to retire early to go out there, even one person to come out there and meet the trail. So a lot of the work I did back in 2020, maintaining the trail, 2021, talking about how good people, allows you, Mimi, to understand about the trail today. And so I'm very thankful that 25 years ago, I was doing trail maintenance. 20 years ago, I was doing trail maintenance, supporting hikers 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and seeing the evolution. And to see your smile on your face and know that you're going to get out there, and to hear Landslide's story about coming up and doing talks. I mean, what more could we want to do for society?
Yeah, and intuitively, I saw that it would change my life, and it certainly did. And I saw others on the trail. I met 2 former forest rangers and a professional man who actually live on the trail. They're retired, they get Social Security, and they actually are professional hikers. They just live there, like just about you. You know, they're just
That's great.
Change their lifestyle, and it's so wonderful to see us going back into more of an indigenous lifestyle and more supporting the natural environment, which we should all be doing because the planet is in poor shape. So I think hikers have a good opportunity to share nature and the environment and what it does for us. And we're not seeing it in the city life, really. People don't see it. They're so removed from it. They're busy making money and, being famous and gaining power, but this is about living simply. And
this is real. This is real life.
Exactly. You're faced with yourself and with survival, and it becomes really real. When you're traversing a snowfield or crossing a raging river, it becomes real. So,
It really does. I know we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank you for helping me. If people want to, we have started a group called the Pacific Crest Trail 2024 Facebook group that has 1-minute videos on simple things that you don't read about gear on the trail, starting, as simple as, finding the right campsite at Lake Hauser, or you need what water you need. So I make 1-minute videos about what you're going to find in the first 100 miles. I believe
those are good.
That 100 miles, people are good.
Those
so
are good.
Facebook.
Yeah, we'll put that on the link because people's attention span is so short these days. So that's good. That's fun. Those are fun to watch. And again,
we're going to see you in Campo. Right?
Okay.
Campo, April 1st, about?
Yeah. And I'll be finishing.
You're going to be out hiking in March or May?
I'm going to start hiking in May, but I won't be hiking from Campo. I'm going to be, wherever I'm at, I'm going to start from there.
Okay. Well, we might run into you. We're starting March 4th, and we're going to go slow. And, we can't get into the Sierras until probably June this year. I'm sorry, the Sierra Nevada. It doesn't have an S on the end. Yes, Sierra,
that's right.
No S.
I hate that when people say it wrong. So
that's my fact checker over here helping me out.
I love it.
Okay,
I'd love to meet your wife too. She sounds like a kick in the pants.
Yeah, next time let's get her on the camera too.
You want to make a quick appearance? Come on in.
Yeah.
Here she is, so that you guys can see her when she's out there. Why don't you just put your smile on your face and
okay, you're real too. You're not just a figment of his imagination. This guy's a dreamer. And he's talking about his
real. I'm real.
Okay.
She's the technical expert that put this together today.
Okay, wonderful, Bianca. Thank you. Nice seeing you. Okay, I'll talk to you again before your hike. Okay.
Perfect. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for everything.
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you.
Nice, everybody.
No.